everyone. I'm super excited to host Hiram Rodrigues, Design Technology Manager at Gensler. I had the opportunity to co organize a conference in Chicago 2 years ago with Hiram, and I must tell, he's super passionate about AC Tech and bringing the community together in Chicago. So, kudos to all the efforts you're doing in the space, and it means a lot for the community and even spreading the knowledge. So, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I think it's a great opportunity to get to see you again virtually, wherever you are. Uh, so it's good.
I see. So, Hiram, for like people who are getting to know you for the first time, can you tell us a bit about your background, how, where you studied, graduated, and your journey till date?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can start with education. It goes back to study in Brooklyn, New York at Pratt Institute. Got my bachelor's degree in architecture. So it was a fun kind of environment where the computational was just starting. There was a lot of Maya work. There was a lot of, generative kind of design in Maya and some other applications. And the different individuals running the studios and the overall school were pretty in line with the thinking of advanced computational. Um, so I think it was a good environment to foster kind of a a industry kind of wide kind of individuals. So I think that it's something that's really nice. Sire does that all the time. There's other schools, Columbian, all that. But I think for the undergrad programs, it was really experimental, so which was good. It was in my background. Before that, I was starting to do a little art, so installations. I focused a lot of mixed media art and then sculpture. So I think it was a fun kind of exercise for me. And then from there, yeah, it went. I think it went pretty well. And I met in that environment. I met Rob Botani. So when Rara Botani was teaching at the university, this architectural school, there was a connection with him, and then started working at Core Studio right after graduating. I did a little sustainability work before that with a small one-person firm, and then went into work with Core Studio for a significant amount of time. Uh, so Dell went right into sort of like your incubator within the firms, and that really opened the eyes in terms of different how do you organize groups, different strategies of approaching tool development. They did startups and stuff like that, and problem solving from the technology side. So in one side, it gives you the opportunity at Pratt to learn about these conceptual tools, conceptual thinking, and basically what we started to do in Pratt at the moment was the introduction of Grasshopper. So it was when first started, and there was a lot of like integration with Python. At the time, there was somebody in there who was teaching Python, and that was the only way that he could integrate or teach us parametric design, which was you know another way of saying there's more than the basic tools. There's other programming languages that you want to understand. So yeah, I think I mean, educational wise, it was perfect. So I was good, and then school work, and then I managed to be in that group for about I don't know 6 7 years, something like that. A lot of New York work, worked with a lot of great companies, a lot of competitions, working with a lot of architects too. So that's when a lot of the work, parametric design and consultant work with them was pretty good. And then yeah, managed to move to Chicago and manage their North Central region and get involved here more locally with Torrent Tomasetti and work in different projects and different environments, which was good. Then eventually I moved on to Agent Smith Gordon Gill for a couple of years. So it was a great opportunity to learn about the architectural side. That was my first introduction to um, an architectural firm working. So it was really fluid and it was really dynamic, and projects were large scale and super high rises and all that. So it gave me the opportunity to just dive myself into some of these other, I guess, practice areas within architecture and investigate kind of AC technology within them, then integrate them. So it was a great resource coming from Torrento Massetti and then going into architectural firms, understanding a little bit more of that relationship from that end, and then um, understanding all those things. So I think it was fantastic. And then eventually moved on to Gensler, sort of like a manager, regional kind of role, which is also it's very different, but it's a nice kind of integration of different uh, environments and practice areas as well. So one of the things that I learned with Torrento Massetti is that the core studio has and TT has a lot of different practice areas, protected design, facade, structure, analytics, GIS, all that. So that's something that it has been, it's also part of Gensler. So I think I found like refugees within those groups. So kind of start going again and trying to connect and trying to integrate design technology at that scale. So that's where I'm currently, and it's been a journey. And you mentioned, right, we have another kind of local engagement with the community at Chicago Innovate. It's an AAC Tech focus kind of you know it was initially 2 day and then it became 3 days with a hackathon. So um yeah, it's great. It's something that I learned from Core Studio. Now they do it every year, and and it's very successful in New York. And it's the way I see it is bringing communities together and bringing people of like-minded people to to have fun and talk about technology and learn. So that's something that think I was missing a lot. So um, we were in New York and we were like, "Well, what the heck are we doing in New York? What do we just go back to Chicago and do the same thing and do similar things out there and innovate down there?" So that's something. So that's what it's currently right now. So it's been good.
Yeah, and I must say it takes a lot of efforts to like organize, and like
Yeah.
takes huge dedication. So, and one of the thing like I really like about AC Tech conference is like you never know how much transformational it can be on someone's career path. Like I did my first AC Tech and I did hackathon, and it got really passionate about software development and stuff. So you never know, like the college kid attending Chicago Innovate, and then like suddenly, okay, I think I found my passion or interest. So
Yeah, I
it's
think it's a great opportunity. Yeah, like you said, it's a so there's four of us. It's not only me, but other people within the AC industry also have similar interests organizing it. So yeah, it takes about almost a year to organize it, but that's okay. But I think yeah, you're right. It's this year we had even people who were not architects, computer science, come in and enjoy the event. And I think that was really what you want to some extent to bridge the gap between AC folks and tech companies or tech um, individuals that want to innovate in the space in between. So but yeah, it's super cool to see them work together and not understand what sustainability means or an analysis means, but they understand how to scrape the web or create an app with Langshank or some other ones that are out there, right? So it's pretty cool.
that's interesting. And can you like share how, like what are the roles and responsibilities of design technology manager and a day in your life?
Well, um there's a lot of things. There's the way I see it is that the roles are for you as a regional director or manager of design technologies to integrate the design process, design thinking with technology at hand. So, working across, partnerships both with studios, with individuals, with regions to understand how you can integrate a workflow or training or an app or create an idea, right? So that's like the main thing that you have to understand at the role that I'm at, that it's about connecting the different individuals with a roadmap or an infrastructure that has been already built for design technology, right? So that would be, you know, going from a sustainability analysis to interpret sort of, parametric design to, develop some sort of a workflow with Python, or even right now, working with open source tools to develop like a workflow for images, right, generated with stable diffusion, control net, whatever you need to do, right? So how do we bring those technologies, make them accessible to a larger audience that doesn't have the necessary skill sets or, you know, the appetite, I guess, by making it so it's, consumable and can be, integrated into the project. So managing that kind of infrastructure within the region. And my role is with the North Central region, so Chicago, Detroit, and Minneapolis. So within that, you have different environments of people, working in different tools and stuff. So that's part of my role, but also, getting involved with local initiatives, teaching, apprentice, all that kind of stuff, and trying to do more innovative work in hopefully tool development, and also creating a community. I think when I was here, it's one thing just to be thrown into projects or being like, we're going to innovate on this project and we're going to be using all this suite of tools and open source and I'm going to kick ass. But the reality of things is, as a technologist or as a person who's engaged in this kind of group, is more about how do we find the right people to integrate them in a project? How do we find those people that are part of a mindset that you are, so you can communicate with them or find them or get them interest on the same kind of path and understand what the goals are right now. So yeah, there's a lot of things, project integration, tool development, community development, um, you know presenting to clients or studios, that kind of stuff too. So it ranges.
God. And when you say about tool development, like there are various parts to it. First is like identifying a technology and then narrowing down to business scope. So how do you like prioritize which tools to use, and how do you like do you have your team who works with you for the app development? Do you like specs, like how does it work?
There's different tiers. There might be simple cases within the region that you develop a tool or something that's an add-on to Rhino
Hmm.
or these other tools to make the process faster, right? So that's our things that are maybe ad hoc, that you're working with a small team and understand what the path is, and create uh, a valuable or something that could be shown to be further developed. So that's one of kind of the small thing that can happen sporadically around the different groups, and then you have a more kind of robust kind of system that Gensler has within creating different ideas and tools, which is more mostly from why. This is something that Torrent Tomasetti did a lot too. So they would create grants, research grants, right? That you would, create a team budget, time frame. What are you working for? What kind of the idea is solving, that kind of jazz. And once it gets to a board of individuals that think it's a good kind of tool to proceed, then you get the funding and you proceed from there. And then if it gets to a point where it's something that can be hourly facing kind of tool that can be accessed to, can be for clients or whoever, then becomes that kind of tier. So similar to that, Gensler has something similar. So they'll have grants for you to develop tools or workflows or ideas, and then it goes from there on. So, and then there's other ones that are more, design technology driven, that are part of a design technology group, right? So the design technology group is about 40 people globally. So they have a you know different tiers of design technology individuals that make different choices, and then from there you start developing tools at that age. So most of the tools are, Rhino and Grasshopper, because that's where most of the effort is within the environments. But it would love to see more tools with embodied carbon that are integrated early on and using tools like pollination, that kind of thing. But maybe even more schematic where we're training data sets that can, integrate into the design process even before that, right? Just interrogating that criteria before, so we can come up with, a so we can have a better understanding of what where we are during the design process. So long story short, there's like small groups that can do, kind of hack ish kind of tools. Then there's other more global initiatives that can have more global participation and then global impact. And then there's other more focus driven kind of tool development that can be part of just specific design technology or sustainability, that kind of stuff. So uh, it's interesting, but it takes a lot of time. This is not a 1 week kind of exercise and that's it. We're good to go. This takes years. So
I see.
um, yeah, that's one of the interesting things about different types of size firms. Um, Things could take a long time to mature or even to get to a point where smaller firms might be a little bit easier, less you know less kind of paperwork, I would say. So I mean, you probably know that for sure.
Yeah. And like, so you worked at like this large firms, and you're trying to make the technology accessible within the firm. And can you share like some insights throughout your years, like what strategies worked out better to increase adoption of technology among the designers?
Hmm.
What are the typical frictions they have, and what would make them or encourage them to use the tools more?
Right. I think there's always the friction of outside of that, because I know more. There's always that question: is this going to take me more time? Right? Is this going to be a process that my team will have to spend a lot more time to understand and to integrate than to see the vision, right? To see, understand the roadmap and understand where has to go. And I think one of the things that I've learned working in the industry in this specific role, because that's the only one role I had, is that you gotta sell the vision. You gotta sell the not sell, but make different people understand the where are you going with the conversation, where are you going with the process or the tool, whatever you want to do. You got to make sure that you can understand the problem that you're going to try to solve and understand the tools and understand the people that you're going to try to work with, because at the end of the day you can't sell a process or a tool if the individual you're talking to doesn't understand the process or the problem they're trying to solve. Maybe a technical architect or designer might have a different perspective of what that is as opposed to a principal or director. So understanding the problem in and out, understanding, you know, time frames, and understanding that kind of elements, basic elements at ranges of individuals is very important. Because you might have the coolest tool to integrate to the process, but if your people are not in the same platform or doesn't have the same workflow, then you're screwed. Because then individuals are not going to take that roadmap or that path and go with you. So I think it's part of it is understanding, your individuals or I don't want to call it constituents, but the group that you're trying to work with, and understand their understanding of design technology also. Some people never touch Rhino or Grasshopper. They're only you know PDF driven or whatever 3D model. Just walk around. So you some other ones are more intuitive. They understand the tools. They understand the different languages that you can write programming with and that kind of jazz. So I think it ranges, but I think the most important thing, it's understanding the people that you're working with. That is one of the things that is key, because you know They might not need the Ferrari. They might need just a more economical car to get there, and smaller to get through the streets of Rome or whatever, as opposed to a pickup that can't go through there. So it might be powerful, but who knows? So I think that's one of the things, it would be it's if that I learned in the past that one of the things that you do with design technology is that you get involved in different aspects of projects, from ranging from whatever, laser scanning, sustainability, embodied carbon, tool development, um, all different sorts of language of writing code, and startups and what's not. So I think that gives you the ability to then change courses if you mind when talking to these individuals or people to understand what they're trying to get to. So I always start with people, man. It's crucial. It's crucial. Um, it's not. It's hard to do something when you don't understand what the makeup of the environment is. So
I see. And like if I were, let's say, a budding design technology manager or a design technology manager uh, from other firm, like if they want like a concrete actionable item, like is it like better documentation or many tutorial videos, like what would steps that
let's
would be
sell
effective
something.
in the.
Selling that idea, I think, or the tool or the process. I think you need to have a case study. You need to make sure that you have understand the process and the ask and the why, how, who, and show them through case studies that the process is solid. Um, you got to show them that there's flaws if there's any. Training hours taken from that. Who's going to be part of that training? Who's going to be learning the language? Who's going to be doing the integration? That kind of jazz. Um, so yeah, understanding that through numbers, presentation, case studies is super, super, important because then they can see it's either related projects to them that have done it in the same way and they have seen results, or they haven't seen results, or maybe there's different typologies that the process doesn't fit quite well for them. So if you do in residential, a lot of residential project, maybe there's a few different typologies of residential projects that you've done, and integrated X tool or X process, or you some someone in the group, or you went through the process of learning Python or some other programming language and develop a tool. So looking at the numbers, like what does that terms in terms give you, right? Like, okay, X amount of numbers for these people to develop this process that was tackling this amount of hours for the projects times number of projects is savings, ROI, stuff like that. But more than numbers is understanding that what do you want to get out of it in the project, and show them here it is, this is what you need to do. And sure, after that training is a good way to do it. um Videos, I haven't seen any good like video kind of look at these videos and you'll become expert, you'll integrate it. I think it's more person related kind of environment where you gotta understand the group or the people and try to integrate that as much as possible. So but yeah, you gotta talk their talk.
Mhm.
You gotta show them that you know that the tool or whatever you're trying to do or whatever you're trying to buy will be efficient for them. Um, so, and maybe the more technical people, then maybe for them you get a little more granular.
Mhm.
What kind of language or what kind of process workflow you need to do in order for you to get to from A to B, and where might be some bottlenecks, that kind of stuff. But you need to have that kind of sorted out before you go into the room. Um, and just working on the way I've seen it is you don't understand these problems until you start working in projects. So if you're like in the same role that I'm at, have your team work in different projects and have a check in and understand what the bottlenecks are for the design teams. And because sometimes, as technologies, you might see what that is, but maybe the design directors might not see it or might have an understanding, might see it differently. Maybe the designers might see it differently. So it's your job to understand both of these environments and yourself in that kind of minutia of people and bring it, distill it, and say, you know what, there's a possibility here to develop a tool or to integrate a framework to alleviate this kind of process, make it easier. So that's important also. Because if you're just from the outside, just bringing in a tool, is like, well, I kind of see how it works, but I never work with you. I never work with your projects, so they're gonna be like, well, who are you then to tell me how the process should be better? But once you start building the relationships, then they'll see, oh, you know what, this guy probably knows a little bit more than me, and they'll reach out to you. So, so yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And when you're mentioning this, like working with projects and understanding their need, I thought like for for a student watching this who wants to become a design technology manager someday, what are the skill sets in terms of technical or business or domain related they should learn in order to become effective as a design technology manager?
Um, that's a good question. I think in my case, what I say is the most important thing is to work on with a group of interdisciplinary individuals. So TT was perfect because I was working with engineers, or working with architects, I was working with coders, I was working with people just investigating web development, and then eventually with project related, right? Specifics, building projects, stadiums, airports, that kind of jazz, but also looking into other kind of ancillary kind of technologies and people. And that is just immensely important. Then after that, I think it's to not be afraid of learning another programming languages. Python is a great one. I would say web development is another good one. Backend, kind of data management, that kind of stuff. And now what you're seeing with large language models, that kind of stuff also ties into it. So those kinds of things are kind of important. But also, if you want to work in the field, you got to understand the problems that are happening in the field in AC, right? So that can be either bottlenecks from designing or optimization, or you name it. A lot of decisions are happening early on in the process. So, getting involved with projects and different teams and understanding typologies is kind of interesting. I wouldn't say it's crucial, but I think it would benefit a lot. Learn about high rises, learning about loan spans, architectural specific things, construction things. Because hopefully at the end of the day, you're not just somebody who's, giving them a workflow, but you're giving them guidance of how to go from A to B and paving a roadmap, to individuals that, well, I'm in this stage. These are the kind of infrastructural tools or things that I can use. But what about before that? What about tapping into metadata of the company to understand our metrics? What about doing what you're doing, right? Just create an app for visualization things beforehand. Okay, how does that work? How does that integrate into the process, and how do you integrate that in from there? More sustainable practice, parametric, and then construction, and then whatever, and all that stuff. So I think it's important in that regard to be engaged in all aspects and just try to take in as much as you can. Um, as a student, it would be nice that if you have any opportunities to take any of the other programming languages out there, just do it. Just become familiar with those things. I think it's just a no-brainer for me. I will much rather prefer somebody who has a background in computational or computer science than somebody who has just regular architectural background at this stage.
Mm.
Um, so, but that doesn't mean that an architect or designer doesn't have the interest. And when it comes to the industry, they sign it. Oh, you know what? This is pretty cool. I can learn all this. Yeah, that's all good, man. Too. So sometimes you discover them in the practice area too as well. So it's all good in there. But yeah, I think that's the one that I say the most is work with an interdisciplinary team, somebody that you can learn from different aspects of the built environment. You know, so
I see. So in your past, like, when you were at different companies and developing different tools which got adopted by internal teams, what were some characteristics of tools which were more successful in terms of adoption and what led to it? Because a lot of times I've seen is industry developed tools internally, but there is like no adoption or like cool product, but doesn't like solve that immediate need or something.
yeah, I think I have two perhaps. I mean, Torrance City was great at this, and they did one that it was well, construe was a good one. So construe, if you know construe is a data interoperability for different platform suites, right? Yeah, Revit, Tekla, structural design, Rhino, that kind of stuff. And I think that's super crucial because then you're not losing any fidelity of the project and the design process. And for engineers, it's a little bit easier because beam columns, are a little more kind of I don't know how to say it. It's architecture is a little bit more different throughout the design process. There's a lot more fluidity that's harder to compartmentalize into a point line surface
Mm.
and then do that. But there's tools like Speckle that can get to that. But I think that in developed internally, that kind of process alleviated a lot of frictions within the different tools, allow for them to coordinate a little bit better, understand data a little bit better. I think that's something that's was very useful for me to understand and see. The other thing that they did was pretty well. It was just tackle something that it was done repeatedly, drafting wise, creating rebar plans, reinforced plans. Yeah, it was developed through a process of Dynamo and then became a tool through Revit, just through Excel and family types and all that stuff. And that was a success because nobody wants to spend time drawing a lot, or designing all these different things that are repetitive. Once you have the information, there's ways to import that and make it into streamline the process a little bit easier and alleviate a lot of these, extraneous kind of um, extra work. So I think that's one of the that's those are the two that I think that are fascinating, touching on both on the productivity and then on the analytics, the interoperability. And I think those are the things that I find the most interesting because then you can do a lot with them. And that is something that I think against what we're trying to do as well, focus on some of these, pain tasking task and trying to find ways to automate that process. But also I'm trying to we're trying to figure out, at a regional level, how do you deal with different data interoperability platforms and data analytics and all that stuff. So um, yeah, I think those are. Well, I mean, sustainability is another thing that I'm really, really involved with it, with the region and pushing. But that becomes a little bit more of a process that is a mindset that you need to understand people how to do that. How do you approach um, sustainability checklists and metrics and all that stuff. If you haven't been taught how to use those tools, it's pretty hard to get into them unless you have been using them. And from my from my when I was at TT at Core, Mustafa was there, and so he's the Ladybug guy, and I got to know him in there a lot. I work with him, and he's fantastic. And I think having an open source kind of platform that people can understand and forum, I think it's great. So that's the other thing that we're trying to figure out. There's different iteration process that we can probably automate and integrate with that pollination. So I think that's a win too, because nobody wants. The problem is nobody wants to do a. The way that I've seen it is it's hard for individuals to get into a script than to think about a step by step process, right? Feed this, do this, what day, run the analysis, give me a report, that kind of stuff. It's really easy to integrate, right? But once you start, pointing people to a script or a framework, it's hard. They have to spend time understanding what it is, what's in and out, what's the input, what's the output, what's the operation. Can I change those? So that kind of stuff is hard. So synthesizing that, I think, is an important part of what I'm trying to do.
God. And like within the design technology team, how
Yeah.
do you like create the culture of innovation, or how do you keep up to date with the newest tech? There are a lot of tools develop new technology. Yeah.
Attend the events, man. Attend Chicago Innovate. Attend any event that is AC related that is not a that is not going to cost you $2,000. The hackathons are a great way to understand culture, understand people. I think there's a hackathon that happens in Sweden or Denmark. That is pretty good. It's like those guys from like Hanley's and B Archangels and all those folks, and it's like that is pretty cool, man. Because then one is you get to understand. So this is what happened in these hackathons. You start to understand what are the frictions or problems or solutions that companies want to understand or solve. You want to understand the capabilities, and you want to understand the framework of like community. That's a great thing to understand and go and get involved. So innovation to me is both that kind of environment where you participate in the Discord, not only internally but externally, and get involved in, you know, I don't want to say get involved, just attend or try an effort to attend some of these workshops or hackathons or lecture series, whatever. That could be through the AIA or whatever, wherever you are. Look them up. There's a bunch of them out there. Um, and the other one is just through your own interests. You got to start like finding what those are. Start finding a group and start showing people what you're trying to do. And even if it doesn't go anywhere, like who cares? Like you did it. You understood the technology or process. You went through it. Fine. Find the next one. Do the next one. Never get down. Never try to say, okay, this is the good one or whatever it's going to be, but understand different problems where the industry is going to go and technologies. So that's what everybody's trying to do with this kind of large language models. Try how do you integrate them into your company to understand some basic stuff. And I think it takes time because again the skill sets are not grown as a design as an architect. You go to architectural school to understand how to build a building, right? How to become somebody that can create something beautiful and sustainable and comply with laws and rules and regulations and all that jazz, right? They don't teach you the next technology is large language models and 3D, whatever, control net and all this web stuff. That's ancillary to what you're doing. So I think understanding all that is crucial. Um, Doing your own research is it's good. And then showing people ideas, trigger them to participate with you and say, "Oh, you know what? That is interesting. Why don't we do something together?" And then do your own internal hackathons. That would be another way to do it. I don't know if Perkins and Will did this, but I know from Bureau Hample they also did it, and we're trying to do it as well. So that is one of them, and then the other one is by building a culture internally, people will tell you more about what are the things that there's initiatives or things that maybe you want to help understand and grow, because not everything's about technology. There's other like people focused kind of process, right? Like it's also good to understand.
God. And how do you make decision whether you should develop a tool internally or adopt a third party tool, and some missing gaps you find in terms of tools development?
I mean that's a good question. I think it all becomes part of more of a broader group discussion to understand cost, skill sets, what does it take, I always find that it's more if you don't understand the problem well enough and you think it's going to take too much time or hire people that are not, either going to be only focused on that problem, then partner up with a third party individual that or company that can make you understand or show you the roadmap or build parts of the infrastructure that you want to tie into it. So I think understanding the overall kind of landscape of kind of problems and individuals, I think it would be it's good. So you're not saying, okay, there's certain things that we're pretty good at and we can build internally, but maybe there are other things that we don't understand as well as other groups like whatever, NVIDIA or IVM or some other tools that can had a better framework to run some analysis or integrate that framework to do that, right? You're not going to build your own architecture for systems to run all this, right? That is something that you would never want to do because that's not who you are. But as a technologist, you probably might want to know how does that get built and who's the right person to integrate kind of systems with them. So that's how you would do it.
Guys, I want to do like a rapid fire round. So you'll have like 10 seconds to answer it.
10
Gotta be,
seconds.
yeah,
All
cool.
right.
So, super short. Uh, uh, your role model.
10 seconds role model. The mom, man. Hardworking, always there and, you know, good with things and, you know, good at, the other thing is she's pretty good at just, communicating with people, right? Communication is great. You can understand how to communicate with people, be friendly, understand things. So that is it.
Uh, yeah, moms are the best. Yeah, your favorite architect.
Oh my God, favorite architect? The thing I would say, the OMA guy, it's pretty good. OMA. Remkoolhaus is good. I know maybe he's there or maybe he's in the background there. I know there's another person in there, but I think they wait, and I don't know if they have a technologist, design technologist in there, but they might. I don't know. I think the way they approach projects is kind of fascinating, and the way they use materials selections and to understand kind of contextualize buildings. I think it's pretty fun. Um, yeah, I think he would be my first choice.
Thing you like the most and hate the most about Chicago and New York.
The thing I like the most about Chicago would be the public transit. New York, the public transit is a shit. He's the worst, man. I mean, I live in the suburbs, and the trains are always on time. I know when to get in and out, and there has been some minor delays, but Jesus, man, live in New York and take L train, whatever the G train, and all those things, and it's um, good luck, man. Flooding also out there. Um, the thing I hate the most, Chicago wise, I mean, I like the weather too. The weather is pretty good, so you get all seasons. The crime is bad. I would say that that's something that is a little bit. You see it everywhere, but then yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit of a. I don't know. You don't want to be in the situation, but the thing that I love the most about New York was I don't know. It felt cozy, man. it's it's like you're just right there. It's like everything. You walk, it's right there. People are right there, and you get to interact with a lot of great people out there too, as well. A lot of great companies, a lot of great technologies, a lot of whatever you want to do. That's I think it's one of those things that it's culture wise. I think it's just insanely kind of great. But yeah,
Let's say you are a manager of a dream AC Tech team. Who would be the 5 members you would choose in your team?
I gotta name them,
Yeah.
or can I name the roles?
No, no, you gotta name them. We gotta know
I
like who
mean, I
would
don't
you pick.
know from anywhere. What?
Yeah, anyone in the AC Tech.
Oh man, I mean, for sure you want to have Mustafa on there. He could be his part-time gig in there. Mimbo might be another one from that team. You want to have like Nate Miller gonna organize a lot of the ACTA stuff in there. So that's three. Um, do you want to have somebody else? There's an old friend of mine, Daniel Seagraves, who used to be a core study as well. He's like super chill California dude. You want to have a chill dude in there, like he says, "Don't worry, man. I had the shit," and then he never has it. It just comes with nothing. It's like, oh shit, I'm losing it. But then at the end, he pulls something out of his whatever backpack and does it. So that kind of guy you want to have. Somebody that can stress you out, but then be like, oh shit, that's cool. So that's four. Fifth, you want to have a manager, a really high end person. I think Rob would be a good one, or somebody in that kind of um, role. Maybe we'll put Morale there. I don't know. But yeah, I think you wanna do kind of that kind of jazz where you have different people. I would pick one of them, like even one from the Speckle team, Luis, or even one from the Rhine and Saga. I met those guys before the Rhine and Saga did it, and or they were doing some other thing with McNeil, and then he went into the development of Rhine and Saga. Yeah, something like that would be good. So yeah, it's you want to
That's
have a team
amazing.
that you can just come in and say, "What's up, guys? Let's build something cool."
Hacking every day. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Hacking at life. Yeah.
yeah. Your favorite Grasshopper plugin?
Oh my God, there's so many. Not actually. There's not that many. I think. Oh my God. I mean,
You
I
have
would
to pick
say
from your mind. Now you're checking out.
no. No, I'm checking like on the space. I would say the ladybug ones are pretty. Are just like the most. I'm trying to think like if you were a person that you wanted to do different things, I think that would give you something to do. But as one of them was like just get there was one thing that you do all the time is just get first and last thing of an item list. And there, I think Elefron has something like that. Elefron is one of them. It's pretty good. Just something super stupid that you do all the time, and you know you can develop it. But you're like, oh shit, I gotta get this, and this one just exists there, and it's like there it is. There's no fuss to it. That it is. Um, the other one is not a. It's not a. It's not a. It's not a plug-in, but it's a function of it. It's hops. I think Rhino hops is. It's. I would say one of the conceptually thinking of it is one of the most important things to understand. You know, compartmentalizing kind of scripts and ideas to have an framework for input and output. I think that's just a no-brainer. Um, Everybody creates a group. Why create a group or plugin? You can then create a plugin if you want, but um, that would be something that would be in my radar. Um,
God. We have a question from Harish.
yeah, I know Harish. Oh, look at that! He
Uh,
came in here.
do you have advice on how to integrate the computational process in a design workflow, or what are the challenges you face when trying to integrate?
I mean, Harish, like I was telling Meyer, I think it's the um, when you integrate the into the design process, you got to talk about the different what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and who are the people who are you trying to solve it with, to understand how you then integrate a roadmap, or you develop a roadmap for them to follow. Because what you want to do is you want to develop that roadmap, and you want to get out so they can just follow that road. And you get to another area of the whatever the city, and you pave another road, and you start paving these roads. So the challenges are simple. Is you gotta, if you don't understand the problem or the roadmap they want to go, it's challenging for you to develop a workflow that's consistent, and it's a focus on that problem. You want to make sure that you don't spend, too much time trying to solve it. Framework it, work with them, come back, and then rework that problem and rework the tool, the workflow, and then go back into that. This can be for anything, for a tool, for a script, for whatever you want to do. So hopefully that can answer your question.
Amazing.
I know
Anything,
Harish.
Hiram? Oh,
I know him.
small world.
What's up? Yeah.
Yeah. Anything, Hiram, which we didn't cover in this interview and you would share on a ending note?
Um, Not really. I think one of the things that I would encourage the most, and I did this internally, is like I encourage everybody to learn from other people as much as they can, and to try to teach me those lessons, or try to, talk to me about different things that you've learned, or things that you've seen in the hackathons or workshops, whatever. That's one of the important things that we forget, that even a seasonal, seasoned kind of design technologists can learn. um, so just keep tabs on that, show your supervisor, or show it in, show and tells, that kind of stuff internally, and kind of have presentations about it every month, and show where you've been working, ideas and things like that. I think that's the most important thing that I would say.
God.
um, yeah, I don't know what else.
Eh, yeah, I think like one of the like great fact, the AC Tech community is very small, and like I really admire how you like after COVID, like the Chicago AC Tech community wasn't engaging us that way before, and you took the initiative. So if you don't find the event in your city, you can start to one is a great thing you can. And there are like other
Um,
people in AC, like T2Co Studio was very supportive to like
mhm.
on board and start. So you can always ask for other people to guide you to organize one.
Yeah, that's a great point. I reach out to them, and they say, yeah, whatever we can do to support you. And I think that's the kind of support. That's the kind of people or companies you want to be able to work with, so you can understand that kind of framework. You know, they don't see it as a competition, right? Everybody wants to learn, so that's so. What if you want to do it? You do it in your own whatever you are. To a small one. I don't know. So yeah, I think it's great, and then I would encourage anyone to just be part of a community, internally, externally, whatever. That's a great thing to have, just to talk. Have a conversation about technology is always good. So
Awesome. It was indeed a great pleasure hosting you, Hiram. Always have fun times talking to you and look forward to what you do at Gensler as well as the next Chicago Innovate.
yeah, we'll see you in October again. Yeah, for sure. Okay, Meyer, we'll see you, man.
Bye bye.
All right, we'll see you guys. Bye.